quote Frank Lloyd Wright, "Wood is universally beautiful to man. It's the most humanly intimate of all materials." When we surround ourselves with nature, our autonomic nervous systems simply relax, and with this relaxation comes improved health. The whole concept of biophilic design springs from the notion that on this cellular level, we are interacting with nature around us. I contend that the importance of this comes to bear in our interior spaces or our built environments, where we spend 90% of our time. The success of biophilic design springs from the natural relationship that exists between humans and trees. We exhale CO2, trees breathe in the CO2, hold the carbon, and give us back oxygen. This is the very definition of symbiosis. CO2 levels are rising in the atmosphere year to year, but trees can help keep our atmosphere healthy by reducing some of these greenhouse gases. Trees have one job in the biosphere, and that's to absorb carbon. When a tree reaches its peak life of about 80 years, it stops absorbing carbon and begins to slowly leach it back into the atmosphere. As responsible stewards of this resource, the more than 10 million private landholders who control over 70% of America's hardwood forests will seek out for harvest those mature trees, the ones that have done their job. And in so doing, they open the canopy, allowing light and rain to reach the saplings on the forest floor. And those saplings will begin to aggressively absorb carbon as they grow and breathe new life into the forest. The term hardwoods refers to the deciduous broadleaf trees, those trees that generally lose their leaves in autumn, where the softwoods are the evergreens. The sustainable management protocol for hardwoods is to send a guy like this guy with the hard hat into the woods to try to locate that mature tree, the one that has indeed completed its work. This is called selection harvest, and it's really a resource management model for the world. In the United States, we place intrinsic value on the trees that grow on the land, where in many other countries, the value is placed on the alternate reuse of that land for other agricultural products and cattle grazing. When you see pictures of rainforests burning around the world, this reflects this alternate use of the land. In the United States, we're growing twice what we're cutting every year, and we have twice the hardwood lumber volume that we did 50 years ago. The greatest risk our forests face is underutilization rather than excessive harvest. For every tree that's harvested out of America's timberland, 2.4 trees take its place through natural regeneration. Even at that, we're losing massive numbers of trees to natural mortality. It's the dying tree that releases its carbon, so it's incumbent upon us to use the wood from a living tree with all of its stored carbon intact. Half of the weight of this kiln-dried hardwood board is stored carbon. A renowned furniture designer and maker, George Nakashima, once said, "When trees mature, it's fair and moral that they're cut for man's use, for they would soon decay and return to earth." This recently commissioned and peer-reviewed study asserts that this 5,400 square foot white oak deck holds 32,000 pounds of carbon, and that the wood required to build this deck would take a mere 25 seconds in America's hardwood forests to regrow. Countries around the world are scrambling right now to plant trees in massive numbers to offset the effects of climate change. Ethiopia, for example, as part of a grandiose plan to plant 4 billion trees from May to October of 2019, recently planted 350 million trees in one day. India, for its part, in August of this year, planted 222 million trees in one day. Now, it's important to keep in mind that in the United States, there's no need for such panicked initiatives because our timberland owners regard hardwoods as a legacy crop to be handed down through the generations, as we've done successfully for more than 2 centuries. Designing with wood benefits all of us, whether it's in our homes, our workplaces, our schools, our libraries, or our healthcare facilities. In Japan, one's doctor might easily prescribe shinrin-yoku, otherwise roughly translated as forest bathing, to improve one's sense of well-being and overall health. Forest bathing really is spending thoughtful time in the forest. Numerous studies have been conducted in Japan since the early 2000s on forest bathing, and they've all reached the same conclusion. That is, that the forest environment can effectively aid in relaxing the human body. Cancer is extremely stressful. I know this because in 2013 and 2015, I was diagnosed with 2 very serious forms of cancer. My first, thankfully successful, battle with cancer was set in a traditionally sterile hospital environment, while my second was set in a hospital that had incorporated biophilic design into its scheme. I can say from personal experience that we do yearn to connect with nature, especially when fighting a disease as serious as cancer. After these 2 health crises, my professional focus shifted to include talking about wood in healthcare environments. More and more healthcare environments around the world are incorporating American hardwoods into their biophilic design schemes, like Maggie's centers. There are 22 cancer facilities across the UK employ biophilic design with the comfort and support of their patients, families, and loved ones firmly in mind. The idea is to connect everyone with nature to reduce the enormous stresses associated with this disease. When we bring hardwoods and nature into our built spaces, we reaffirm our symbiotic relationship with trees, and we reduce myriad stresses in our lives. American hardwoods in design around the world create extraordinarily beautiful spaces. It's important to remember that this beauty is achieved through an agricultural product that is renewing itself constantly, is cleaning our air, and will last for generations. So I encourage you to incorporate wood into your built environments. Real wood, real American hardwood. Walk on hardwood floors, as I'm doing right now. Sit on hardwood chairs, as I could do if I wanted to sit back here at the back of the stage. Have breakfast or dinner on hardwood furniture or hardwood kitchen. Open and close beautiful hardwood windows and doors, comfortable in the knowledge that our American hardwood resource is well managed and sustainable. Lastly, to stay centered and healthy, I encourage you all to walk in the woods often and enjoy the gift of oxygen, calm, and support offered by the trees.